Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Unfiltered call-in show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week. This is the Damn Unfiltered Show. D-A-M, Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Show. And normally I'm here answering questions. I just come live to answer questions that people may have, and then we just kind of go from there. So I already see that there's a couple questions in the chat, and I'll answer those in just a minute. Hopefully everybody's having an amazing week after a nice holiday weekend. I would hope for all of you all, right? Because hopefully you took a day before, like the Friday before the holiday, and then took some time after, took the Monday off. So hopefully you had an amazing time. So make sure you say hi in the chat. I sent the note across. If you have a question, you are welcome to join us on the show. Now, on this show, in order to join us, I threw a link out there, and that link is how you just join us, right? Just click on that link and come into the show to ask your question. I gotta prove you to come into the show. Make sure you're not spamming me or anything like that. So it's been interesting. Probably the biggest thing that I wanted to bring up today to start the show off with is I'm always getting a call or two in reference to Scrum's longevity. If Scrum is going to be around. So the question so people always call about a CSM, being a certified Scrum trainer, and a business owner. People are going to come and ask me questions relative to the certification, just relative to things in general, right? And I have this whole green screen up now because that's what I need to use because I'm changing some things around here, but let me take that down a little bit. So I bring this up because this is the normal thing that happens for me. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. Before I do that, hey, Miss Meeks, yes, consuming Scrum content can go toward your SEUs. Okay, let me go back. For those that are aware, I am associated directly with the Scrum Alliance. And the Scrum Alliance has a form of continuing education that is called Scrum Education Units. So pretty much, at least for the foundational certifications, you have to renew from the very first time every 2 years, like literally every 2 years you got to renew. Now, today, that's like $100 I think it takes to renew. And so what I'm going to do, just for the fun of it, I'm going to throw into the chats to make sure that you have the link to the actual, the SEUs situation. The way I look at it is when it comes down to events, the different ways that you learn, volunteering, and then they have a list of other things. So if you take a look at the link that I sent you, so for example, this right here, I guess is a training or a webinar. And so this would qualify as that. Also, spending time with a certified Scrum trainer also qualifies as that, at least SEUs. So for people that are attending this, you can actually use this to help you. Now, I will say this too. A lot of times our information here is associated with project management. And if you have a PMI certification, it is highly likely you can use this as well. I mean, I haven't created anything for it. I haven't done anything to say that this officially gets a SEU every single time. But I would investigate with the body, right? Whoever it is, the governing body for your certification, if you're not Scrum Alliance or PMI, because I can't say I truly know. I would check with the governing body to make sure that this kind of thing would apply to what you are trying to renew. Now, the reason why I say that is because, okay, I have a PMP. I'm also a CSM. And I have to renew it, right? So as a certified Scrum trainer, include all the rest of those certifications. So literally for me, when I think about my time of making sure that I am doing the things that when it comes to renewal, I don't have any worries, what I do is I plan accordingly. So quarterly, well, at the beginning of every year, I make a plan, and quarterly, I'll take a look at that plan. I also make sure that I carve out a week every quarter, it could be a few days for whoever, to make sure that I'm taking time to do that. So I will specifically schedule things about a week every 3 months, right? Sometimes it gets crushed, other times it don't. Now, also during that time frame, I make sure that I take care of my continuing education, whatever bodies that I need to, okay? And so for me, it works out pretty well because like with the CSM, with the CST or the Scrum Alliance certification, and with the PMP or the PMI certification, I could try to make those crossover, if that makes sense, right? So I try to do things that are gonna get me units across multiple things, okay? So for example, I might take something that has project management in it, but there's a Agile or Scrum focus, right? That way I'm double dipping. And so now I'm looking for organizations that can get me SCUs as well as PDUs. So so every dollar I spend or every minute of time that I spend is getting me going across multiple certifications. Now, that doesn't work very well with my Six Sigma black belt, and it doesn't work very well with my certified diversity practitioner, okay? The diversity practitioner I just really got last year, and so that one's still new to me, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. But the idea is that if I'm going to sit down and, for example, Ms. Meek says here, you can read a book. Well, reading materials is, I believe all these things allow you to read books, allow you to do some form of self-study. I believe all of them allow you to use some work stuff, right? And so usually it's not as torturous as most of us assume it to be. The biggest problem that most of us have in terms of these certifications is that we wait until the very last minute. So my advice to you as a person that has been in Scrum, I'm gonna say PMP because the PMP ones are a little heavier, right? As a person that's being a PMP, specifically need to get through PDUs every 3 years, like 60 of them. It's really tough doing it last minute. Like last minute over a 3 year mark is like horrible. It is legitimately horrible. So if you have multiple certifications, if you have just Scrum Alliance certification or some other Agile certifying body, just validate with them what you are supposed to do to maintain your cert. To maintain your cert, whatever that is going to be. So, and take time to just do those things over time. It's much easier to remember something that you did 3 months ago versus 3 years ago. Okay? So, literally, it's in my calendar. I'll be looking at my calendar this week, probably this week, to be just making sure that I'm planning out the last 3 months appropriately. So, again, if you have any certifications, it's a good job, it's a good idea for you to plan your renewal process. You don't want to be last minute. You don't want to be in a position where you're getting audited because most of these places will audit you. Will audit a certain percentage of the population and definitely will audit you if they feel like there's some funny business happening. I have never been audited. Please don't audit me. I'm not asking to be audited. But I try to make sure that all my stuff is lined up so I'm good to go and that I have proof. And I like to have proof that is not relying on a person, right? If I have proof, like with most organizations, I can go and log into their website and show that I get a certificate or something like that to show that I actually have proof. So it just becomes one of those things where you just want to look out and make sure you take a moment to work through that. And if you do it last minute, it's just a lot more work for you. And if you're okay with that lot more work, it's perfectly fine by me. But just know last minute may not be the way to do it. So I did provide that link so you can have it, at least for the Scrum Alliance. I don't know about everything else, but that just at least gives you an idea of what I would do, okay? So it's super important. If you want to stay renewed, make sure you pay your fee because most of them have a fee of some kind. And then make sure you get the continuing, make sure you do the things that they say for you to do, right? They could tell you to go volunteer or you may have something very specific you need to do based on your certification. Make sure you are doing that, okay? Yeah, I've had certifications that I just haven't paid attention to and almost completely lost. Some certifications can be a little bit lenient with you as well. We just had a whole pandemic, right? Well, I won't say had. We still have this pandemic, and there have been a lot of people that have lost their jobs. There have been a lot of people that have had various circumstances, and some of these certification bodies will allow you to have a longer grace period, just a longer grace period, or maybe even forgive something because of some circumstance that you had that's out of the norm. And you really don't know unless you go ask. So make sure that if you have one of those circumstances that may have prevented you, your thing has lapsed in some kind of way, make sure you go and have a conversation. There's nothing that stops you from having a conversation. And that conversation may be part of the goodness of you renewing, okay? I know several people right now who calling me and call me and ask me about what they need to do in terms of their certification. And probably, every other week I get an email about people renewing. especially since I'm heavy in Scrum and Agile. I mean, every other week, somebody's sending an email to Bearded Eagle, to me specifically, saying, hey, my time's come. Hey, what do I need to do to renew? Okay, well, here's the link. Here's the, and you're going to have to do this. And I'll just make sure they understand the process of renewing. And that's pretty easy because the Scrum Alliance has put it on the website and made it easy for people to see. And I can do that with the PMP or most other bodies that I'm associated with. I know what it takes to renew. So just make sure you take the time to renew, because I know when I renewed my PMP, I had circumstances, I really, really did, and they allowed me to go beyond my lapse period because of those circumstances. So I think most of these bodies are fairly reasonable. I don't think they're trying to kick members out, unless you're doing something that's really against the code of conduct, and all of them have a code of conduct, right? So just going, really ask. That's really what you want to do, is just really, truly ask. Does that make sense? So that being said, the renewal process is the renewal process. It's not normally very hard. It's just make sure you have the proof. So then if you get audited, you can easily come up with that and get it off your chest. So that's, if there's a recommendation that I would give, it would definitely be that more than anything else. Okay? So now, let's talk about something else here. And we'll keep this really simple. I know a lot of people have kids that are just going back to school, or just the past 2 weeks have been going back to school. I can tell you right now, my daughter in Chicago, she started school on the 30th. They normally start after Labor Day in Chicago, but no, on the 30th, I got a couple kids that started college, mid-August, because that's normally the time frame. And doing college visits and everything else and stuff I've been doing. So I know that some of you all have those life circumstances that are happening, because I see that at some of these jobs, people are ramping back up in terms of coming out of the summer, trying to get their kids back in school. And it's kind of crazy with this COVID thing, because you see a lot of kids, like you get this email saying, hey, there was somebody at your kid's school that got the COVID. And if your kid was in contact with that kid, then you'll get a separate email. Some of you know that message, right? Because I've seen them with multiple kids. I've had one that started here in high school here in Texas. So it's an interesting thing, right, in terms of these times. So I know there's a lot of concerned parents and concerned people in general out there that's not thinking too much about their job or thinking a whole lot about Agile or anything like that. And normally for us at Bearded Eagle, when it comes down to this kind of mid-August to mid-September, things slowed down a little bit. The holiday coming, kids starting school, and normally it's just one of those, dips, and then people come back and start thinking about certifications and how they're gonna, spend the rest of their budget or get whatever certification they've been trying to get all year but didn't have time. They start thinking about that toward the last 3 months. And so with that dip, I know that people will be in and out of this thing, but if you do have any questions, I'll add it once again to the chat, so then you can actually have it. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to join us on the chat. It'll probably be a little shorter night for us because I know people are busy, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm still going to come here and answer people's questions regardless, because that's the kind of guy that I am. But I'm going to throw this out here. Hey, Deshaun, how you been doing, man? Hopefully you're good. Your family is blessed. They're doing very well. Hopefully things are fine. If it's not, you should be reaching out to me, hollering at me, making sure you're good, man. So if you have any questions, please join us. But other than that, the topic I was going to begin the show with was about the viability of the certification, or where is Scrum going. And, people typically have these, what I would call adoption curves, okay? And when I talk about an adoption curve, I'm really talking about how, a population adapts to something new set of circumstances. But in this case, how they adopt to Agile. Okay? And if I think about an adoption curve, there's these early adopters that normally happen in the very beginning. And then there's a bell curve, and most people happen in the middle. And then there's a tail end, right? There's a tail end, the laggards, the people that happen toward the end, or later adapters, right? And the question becomes, where are we in this adoption cycle of Agile, of Scrum, of any of the frameworks that exist? Let's throw SAFe out there in terms of scaling, if you want to say that one too, right? But in terms of adoption, where are we at on that scale? And if it's me, we're definitely not in the early adoption, right? I thought about this when the young lady, when I called her today to answer her questions about Scrum. She asked her basic questions. The basic questions are normally, hey, the test. Hey, what do we need to learn? Hey, she asked us about job assistance and all this other stuff, which again, we don't just do that as a part of the class. Yeah, we've done that for other reasons, but not as a part of the class. And then she said, will I be able to find a job within a year? And guess what, y'all? I can't predict that for anybody. And it's one of those things where I don't have any special information about Agile. Not special information about people being hired, but what I can be is honest with you, right? Now, please understand, I have actually had people that come to my class not have any exposure to Scrum whatsoever. And within a week, they got a job. They have a job. Beginner, no experience, got a job right out the box. Applaud to them, right? Applaud to them because something that they did was right. Then I have the person that stops me at my daughter's graduation and says, hey, I need to come talk to you because I haven't found a job. Well, the unfortunate thing is that I can't find people jobs. And so when she asks me, will she find a job within a year? I can't do anything else but be honest with anyone that wants to ask that question. And here's why. I don't know your personal situation. I don't know your circumstances. I don't know how well you interview. I don't know what your resume looks like. I don't. I also don't know one other key thing. And I call it, and for lack of a better term, your hustle. Do you really go after what you want? Like 50 Cent would say, get rich or die trying. Do you go after that job in a way where you're going to get that opportunity or you're going to die trying? Do you put everything on the table to make sure that you get that opportunity? The problem is, if I really say to myself, on a bell curve, less than 25% of the people will be those hustlers that I'm thinking about that are going to do everything it takes no matter what, like it's air that they're breathing to get that opportunity. The majority of the population is going to be right in the middle. Right in the middle. Let me just say like it's 66%. Be right in the middle. I think it's much higher than that. But let's just say 66% for fun will be in the middle. Let's say 50% for fun will be in the middle. So that means that if I say 25 hustling, 50 in the middle, the other 25 ain't doing nothing. The other 25 is not doing anything whatsoever. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I mean, your next opportunity. I mean, let's just say you're in your company. You're in the company that you're in, and you don't want to leave that company. Are you doing everything that you can to get the next opportunity within the company that you're in? Or if you don't have a company that you're a part of, or you're at a job where you're just super unhappy, are you literally doing everything in your power to get rich or die trying, or basically get that opportunity or die trying? I can't measure that. I can't measure that in you. I cannot measure that in you. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And so sometimes you can see it in people's, just the way they present themselves, that they just ain't gonna. And so it's just one of those things where I really don't know. So when she asked me the question, I said, I have to be honest with you. I cannot guarantee that you're going to find a job. That's up to you. That is completely up to you. That's not up to the cert. And I said to her, I said, look, here's the deal. Here's the truth, right? Here's the truth. You can do Scrum all you want to without no certification. You can do Scrum as much as you want to with no certification. But can somebody tell me why would you get a certification? Why would you get a certification? Just throw it in the chat. What's the reason why you truly get a certification? I can tell you my reason. And I only have one reason for getting any certification whatsoever. Let's just say a PhD, right? I had nephew that graduated with his PhD at 26, right? And you know what? He could learn all that information without getting a PhD. He really could. But why do you go achieve that achievement? Why do you go get that thing? Don't know. I know why I do it. And I would think you would be doing it for the same exact reason. For the same exact reason. And realistically, my reason is only one thing. Degrees, certifications. Well, I see that shows the employer that you possess the skills needed in that line of work. Yeah, it does give you that. And that's cool. And here's the fun part about it, right? Every time I've been at an employer and I've gotten a particular degree or a particular certification, you know what it's done for me? Usually nothing. I've always found that the people that I'm currently with, the people that I'm currently working with, they just don't appreciate me in that way. And I don't know, it could be different at the place that you're working at. It could be different with the people that you're associated with. I only get certifications for marketability. That's it. Because the problem is that I know people who have these certifications, and y'all do too. Y'all know people who have these certifications that don't know jack squat. They couldn't get themselves out of a cardboard box, even if you had it open. Okay? So literally, I get it, and it helps us to stand out. I agree with all that. It helps us with everything, with standing out, with everything. It just helps with a lot of things. But end of the day, marketability is where it's at, right? Marketability. You know, yeah, we're gonna respect. You're gonna, it shows you possess the skills. It shows that you completed something, right? There's all kinds of reasons why you would get it. But what I said to her was that the reason why you would get a certification is all about marketability, right? And so you have to make a choice. Do you want to have a stamp of marketability? Or do you just want to walk into your next interview, into that next opportunity? You want to present yourself on LinkedIn as not having that stamp. Certification is that stamp. So do you need to have it? You don't need to have it. You don't. You can do a ton of this without it. Is it something that has helped me? Well, yeah. Is it something that helped me? Yes. It helped me a whole lot. I mean, I can't say to you that I would be where I'm at today without initially getting a CSM. And literally, I paid more for my CSM than we charged for the CSM. I literally did in 2005. Did I really have the money to do that? No, I didn't. Was I upset at how much it cost? Yeah, I was. And then on top of that, I had to go get a hotel in downtown Chicago. Even though I'm from Chicago, you know how you from the hood and you just can't be hanging out at your family's house because it's just a distraction. So I couldn't do that, right? So I had to go pay for this hotel downtown, right? It was a nice hotel too. I remember clearly. We won't talk about the name, but it was super nice back then. And so, I wasn't used to that kind of stuff. But the idea is that I went all the way with it. And my employer definitely did not see the value at the time. Did not see the value at the time. And did not pay for it. Did not pay for it. They actually did pay for it. But they paid for it after the organization said, I saw a little bit of success, and it started getting to a place where people was going, and I said, this is a problem, and argued and fight. Did they really pay for it? I don't even remember. I actually don't think that they paid for it. I think they paid for the PMP and not the CSM. So I think that's what happened. They paid for a little class, a 2-day class that wasn't truly a PMP prep class. They paid for that thing, but they didn't pay for nothing else, right? And so, it was my incentive to leave, right? It was definitely my incentive to leave. And the next opportunity I got really helped skyrocket me, so it was a good thing. So realistically, it's really just about marketability. That's all it really is. And if you're able to be marketable to whoever it is, or basically show skills, show that you've attained a certain level of proficiency, that's always a plus. And that's going to help anybody around you, I hope, feel confident. One of the biggest reasons why I got the PMP was to fight with people who had PMPs, right? Really. I just wanted to fight with people who had PMPs because I'd run into these situations, the older people would be like, you ain't got no PMP, shut up. And I thought that was rude. And so I'm like, I need to get a PMP, so I had to shut up. I kind of respect people that are older than me to some degree, right? So it just is what it is. But back to the topic, in terms of the young lady, I just was really honest with her, right? I was really honest with her and say, it's going to be up to you how you decide to use this and what you decide to do with this thing moving forward. And unfortunately, the one thing I can't do is I can't promise or predict to you what's going to happen. It would be people would actually hate me if I was doing that, right? And I've never, and I never will, promise people results because I can't guarantee your results. I really can't, right? I wish I could, because if I could, I'd get everybody six-figure jobs. Well, no, let me just go beyond that. I get everybody seven-figure jobs, right? I get everybody on the planet seven-figure jobs and all the resources that they ever wanted to have available to them. I get everybody I know. Everybody's been through my classes. I give them all seven-figure jobs if I could, right? But then somebody gonna be fussing like I need multiple seven figures. So I don't know if I could do that. But the idea though, if I could take care of you, I really, really would. I would be so happy if I could take care of, yeah, I could be that guy that can help everybody. Anytime I'm able to help somebody take care of their family, I'm always proud of that, right? Even though it may not have anything to do with me or my family, whatever, but if there's a way I can help a person, I always do, right? And so, realistically, I can't say how I can help her. I can't say what I can do. I can't say that this is going to work. I don't know. I don't know the market she is in. And here's the thing about being virtual. I don't even know what city she was in. Like, yeah, I seen a phone number, I seen an area code, but dude, my phone number has a Chicago area code. Literally, it's a Chicago area code, and I live in Texas. I ain't changing my phone. Every time I get a new number, I make sure it's a Chicago area code. I just do. So 312-773-630. I just always do. I do that even to this very day because I just feel a connection to the place, right? And so, it's really hard for me to pick up a 817-469, at least the Texas area codes. And it's nothing to do with Texas. It just has everything to do with the pride of where I'm from, right? And so, I couldn't tell where she was from. I couldn't tell how old she was. I paid no attention to any of that stuff. What I really try to do is just give her the truth. And if there's one thing that people would say about me and my relationship with them, from mentor-mentee, teacher-student, friend, because I've had a lot of students that have definitely become friends, right? What they would all say is that I've been honest with them. A guy on here earlier, Edwin, he provided a comment there. And one of the things that I helped him out with is the lunch and learn session. And that lunch and learn session, I really sat and talked to him about Scrum, but then I really just opened the floor and said, let's deal with the real world. Like literally, let's stop. We can talk about this. I can teach you this in 5 minutes, but let's talk about your real problems, right? Because, you may come to the well, but I got a lot of stuff to give in terms of that. And so I can answer many, many questions, and I really wanted to answer their questions instead of, give them something that's cookie cutter, right? I don't like cookie cutter. I get bored really, really quick. So I really don't do well with cookie cutter. I'd be falling asleep, right? And then, my ex-wife, she don't like virtual trainers. So she always complained to me about whenever she's been in a virtual training, how she can't wait to get back to the real world. But I've enjoyed virtual trainings or virtual meetings or anything like that, because since COVID, people have actually paid attention. Like prior to COVID, people wasn't paying as much attention. That meet face to face handshake deal was so important. See each other, fly out to New York and have a class. All that stuff was just super important. So I get it. But it's been a little bit. It's definitely been a little bit different. So it's just interesting. So but I mean literally every other week I get someone who really comes and they're a little bit nervous about Scrum. They're a little bit nervous about their career change. And I do want to let you know that I'm a career changer, right? I really am. I have a degree in psychology. And I definitely was working in my field, doing more social workish kind of stuff, right? Working with kids, doing counseling, and people with needs, disadvantaged neighborhoods, with things that economically depressed is where I was at. And or with kids in a home and going to school, they're living there, and it's they're in between jail and being having parents or whoever really taking care of them. There's somewhere in that middle, right? And so I was in that kind of field and I enjoyed it, but I changed careers, right? And there was nothing promised to me when I jumped out there and took a risk. There was not a whole lot of people for me to ask questions of. I just said to myself, I can't take care of no, back in the day, right, long time, I can't take care of a bunch of kids with this money I'm making right here. And I was seeing people that wasn't happy. You understand? People that wasn't happy, and they've been in the field like 20 years. Like most of the people that was in the field 20, 30 years, they didn't have no enthusiasm. They didn't have no excitement. They didn't have no anything that would say to me, well, what it said to me was, you could be in that place 20 years from now. So if I'm a 25, 26, up to 35-year-old person, I'm still looking at my career and stuff like that. You want to be happy when you get to be 45, 50 years old in what you're doing. Even if you're older, you still want to be happy at 60 when you're doing whatever it is you're doing, right? The idea is that 5 years from now, you should want to be happy in whatever work that you're doing. And if you don't see, if you can't see yourself being happy, you're probably at the wrong place. I mean, I kind of I always think of things where it's like, you can get paid money any place. So why not get paid money where you be happy? So, but this is not my choice to make. It's your choice to make. It is y'all's choices to make, right? It's definitely not my choice to make, So it's just an interesting thing. But I could do nothing but be honest with people like that. And the worst part about it is that I can't say to you that I'm the best person to go and figure all that stuff out. I mean, I told myself I'm going to go hunt for a job, right? So I can test some things out, test some theories out, and do that stuff. And I actually have done that a couple of times, right? In the past, recently I applied for a job that I knew I won't get, but I just applied for the fun of it, right? And so I'm going to do that a little bit more, right? I told myself this next quarter, Q4, I am going to jump out there and just look for a job. I don't know why I'm advertising it, because then people are not going to give me no job. But I'm only advertising it because I'm telling you all what I'm going to do. And I tell you that because it's an experiment that I'm running, right? So, see, that's the beauty. You understand? And last week, I talked about not last week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about an experiment that I was running in reference to the show. And right now, I'm actually going to the location. Oh, and seeing that there's no videos. So, just so you all know, I had someone reach out to me asking me could I do the show at different times. Now, I'm not doing the show at 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time or 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to go to sleep. But they said that they weren't able to see the show, and so would we do it at different times and all this other stuff. And so my suggestion to myself was, how about you just go ahead and create a new segment called In the Loop. And the In the Loop segment, people can send in a video. And then you'll take that video. You can actually play that video. And I haven't figured out. See, it's a bad thing for me, right? So the art of an experiment, the art of a minimally viable test, okay, or what purposely should be an MVP, is to get or learn from something that you're doing. Get or learn from something, right? So what's the minimum amount of stuff I can put together to learn, okay? Especially around a particular topic. And so what I did was I created this environment for people to be able to just have a link with a Dropbox. As long as you make it so anybody can edit it, they can throw something in there, they can take something out of there, and it's life. It's good. Okay? So that means that nobody's throwing anything in there, and I've been running this experiment for over 6 weeks. Do you really think I should invest any more time into it? Do you really think I should invest any money into it? Because I didn't invest any money. I already had a Dropbox, right? So all I had to do was just create a folder, send a link out to the group, and just make sure that they know they got the opportunity to ask the question that way, right? But guess what? I'm getting feedback because I've had 3 shows where nobody submitted a question. You understand that? And here's the deal. I understand how I was thinking because I got so excited about it. I'm like, this would give people an opportunity and they can ask questions anytime and then I can pull them in and boom, that's it. I was going to buy a service that was going to cost me monthly. I was going to put that on my website, which was going to take time. I was going to make all this effort to make this thing work so people can ask questions. Can you imagine how I would have felt if I spent the money and the time building out that infrastructure? I would not be happy with me. And the only person that will be suffering from me doing that is me. Because my time is gone, I can't get that time back. My resources are gone, I can't get those resources back. And here I go, I ran a small experiment where, look, nobody said a thing. Nobody's asked a question about it. Nobody's had a complaint about it. Nobody's done anything about it whatsoever. So, was that a smart thing for me to do? I think so. I think so. It's just like, if I'm truthful with you right now, in running that experiment, I literally don't know how I would show you this video on this live right now. I have no clue on how I would show you the video on the live right now. This is what I mean. I have done no additional work other than seeing that people are going to drop a video in the box. And the reason why is because why learn how to do that if nobody has done it? You understand? This is the art of experimentation. It means that my clientele, the people who are associated with me, the people who have had training from me are like, I'm not that interested. And most people, when I brought it up last time we had the show, here's what they said. Well, you should keep it just in case. But just note, I have invested no more time into it. Now, could I tweak it to see if it's something that a better way to work it? I probably could. And I got somebody joining the show, so let me go ahead and bring them in. Hold on just a second. Let me go ahead and pull this together. I know who this is. What's up, Ira? How you doing, man?
What's up, King?
Man, I'm good. How are you doing, King?
I'm doing good, man. And
How's
if I
how's the baby?
wasn't, I
You had the
wouldn't.
baby.
I
You had the
wouldn't tell
baby
you.
and everything else, man. How's the family?
Family's good. She'll be one. She's actually going to be one at the end of this month. Kids are in school. Wife is back teaching, so I'm blessed. I can't complain.
Hey, I was talking about COVID earlier, right? So your
hmm
kids are going to school, and you getting those letters. It's like somebody's caught COVID, but
Oh yeah, like every day,
every day. Wow.
every day. I actually just got over COVID a week ago. I was in the hospital and everything.
What you? How you catch it, man?
I have
What
no
you?
idea. I work from home. I go to the gym, and I go to the grocery store. I have no idea, and I wear a mask. No idea. And I'm the only one in the house during this instance that caught it.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, that's a
So
blessing
that
for
means you
sure.
was able to quarantine yourself.
Yeah, I was in the bedroom for like almost 2 weeks, man. It was terrible, but I'm alive, so I'm not gonna complain.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I'm happy to hear that, man. I really am. So do you have a question, man, or you just
I
checking on
do.
me? Okay, what's your question?
I do have a question. So I'm on a couple of engagements right now.
Okay.
And I really have two questions, but I'll stay on one. A lot of them are like data migration projects, and I absolutely hate it. And I don't
Why
know
do
if
you
because
hate
I'm
it?
going,
Why do you hate it?
oh my, because I guess my mind is so focused on SDLC, and that's what I'm comfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
and I can deal with epics and features and building something and creating and enhancing. And I know how to prioritize a backlog. I know the lingo. I know how to, really wrap my hands around delivery and release management. But when it comes to data migration, that's just not my thing. And I feel like every project that I've been placed on for the last year or so has been data migration. Now I'm learning more about like ETL and stuff like that, but it's just how to like they send you in there and they're like, okay, we want to be Scrum or we want to be Agile. It's just
Yeah.
like I don't even know where to start, and I'm literally just failing my way to learning. Like I'm failing and learning at the same time, but it's so uncomfortable. Um, I don't know if anybody out there has had similar projects. Where do you start? Where do you go? What are there any resources out there where I can learn from? Um,
Well, let me ask you a question though, right?
sure. Mhm.
So, what you're saying to me is that you tried to use Scrum on these ETLs, right? On these data migration projects.
Well, I feel like I'm almost forced to because that's what they want to use. Personally, I think as Kanban is the best for that. And the one thing that I do when I go into these projects is I try not to move straight to a framework. I'm trying to just learn what's going on
Okay.
because everybody wants to jump to Scrum. And for me, it's like, okay, well, Scrum might not work in this scenario. Maybe we want to try something else. So for this particular project that I'm referencing, Kanban will be the best approach.
So, let me
Um,
ask a question.
yeah,
Who knows the most about Scrum in terms of people that you're working with? Is it you
nobody.
or them?
It's me. It's me.
So then why don't you just lie to them, man?
What do you mean?
Just tell them it's Scrum. I hate to say it. This is the worst piece of advice I can give, right? But the idea is that are they going to do Scrum perfectly? No.
Absolutely not. All right.
So then the question
Nobody
is,
is.
why don't you just say it's Scrum Bon? I'm doing Scrum, adding some Kanban to it.
That's what we're trying to do, but they want a time box, and time boxing would overly complicate their what they're trying to execute, like what they're trying to do. And but
Then
they've just wrapped their mind
then have
around
a
we want to
monthly
do
then
sprints.
have a monthly time box.
Mm,
A monthly time box is complete crap, right?
right.
So, but have a monthly time box, and then that monthly time box, make sure you have a retrospective. The review
Hmm.
is going to suck, right? So don't try to have the review. Just try to have little reviews along the way because you'll need little reviews along the way because you need people to constantly check to make sure things are going in and coming out the right way, right? So you know
Right.
you're going to have that happen. But one thing you can do is you can implement a retrospective once a month and say we're doing monthly sprints and then have a little planning session about what our focus is going to be for this month for this time period. Tell me the only thing that's really broken in that is you can easily have daily scrums you
Right.
can easily have in that situation. The problem you have with daily scrums is if you have a lot of people working, they may be working on vastly different things and they may have no reason to communicate with each other. So if you have that situation, daily scrums will suck, right?
Hmm.
But other than that, you could plan out a theme. You could have a monthly focus. You really could. You could
Okay.
focus on certain areas. You could focus on the clients that are going to be impacted by the data the most, or you can focus in on what's going to get you a return on investment the soonest, right? So you can find a monthly focus. You really could. And you can make a plan around that monthly focus and make sure everybody is moving in that direction on a monthly basis. And then you just have your retrospective at every single month. We got a retro to figure out how we're going to collectively get better. What about that isn't Scrum?
That's true. That's true.
So
That's a
my
really good
so my
idea.
problem with you is the way you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you're the one that know the most information, so they don't even they don't even know what they don't know, man.
Yeah, one of so I'm working with a program manager, and she worked on another project where they had completely different. It was not data migration; it was true. They were enhancing the application. So she has a little bit of knowledge of Scrum from that situation, and she's kind of comparing the projects, and I'm
But
like, we're
that's
two,
okay. But
two totally different things.
no two projects will be the same, and your
Right.
data migration projects are going to be different, right? Because what you
Right.
have to explain to her is something really simple. Everything that we do has a life cycle for creation, for turning
Mm-hmm.
the idea into whatever we're trying to turn it into, and there's a life cycle that it goes through. The
Mm-hmm.
software development life cycle isn't the same as the data migration life cycle. It's
Right.
not the same as the training life cycle. So what you want to do is you need to explain that to her, since she's an expert, right? She's an expert and should be the one that complains the most. Say, okay, these are some of those differences. And here's why a strict 2 week or 1 week time box doesn't work. But realistically, all I'm really saying to you is it looks like Scrum, but it's just really a check-in. It's a monthly check-in. Well, we're just kind of having these stage gates. I hate to call it a stage gate, but lack of a better term, that we go ahead and
Right.
have a review, a retro, and plan what the next theme is going to be and keep it moving. And then other than that,
Okay.
you can have daily scrums along the way. But tell me that's just a monthly sprint, man.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
But
Um.
here's your truth. Your truth is you just don't feel like doing that work anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's
That's
it.
I. You're right.
That's it. And so what you need to figure out is how you can parlay some of this data migration experience into
Mhm.
something different. So you can move out of that space, because what they're doing is they're turning you into the data migration expert.
Oh my God. I hate it. I hate it, man.
So you want to start moving yourself away from that, right? And so realistically, it's just work that you don't like. And the worst part about because I used to work in a data warehouse, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of where I started at. So ETLs is I know,
Hmm.
but it's really repetitive, man.
Very. Oh.
It's really repetitive. But here's the problem, right? The
Hmm.
truth of the matter is the things that are the most efficient are classically repetitive.
Because you know
So,
what's coming. I mean,
because it's predictable, right?
right.
And
Right.
so, something that is predictable, do we use Scrum on it?
No, it's
No.
Kanban.
Well, we might not even use
And I think
Kanban, right?
Kanban really is traditional project management to me. I think traditional quote unquote waterfall is what they really need to focus on. Is what they need. They need a schedule, change management, resource management,
They
all
don't
that
need all
stuff.
that. They don't need all that.
They will be fine.
No,
They
they don't
don't
need
need
all that.
agility in this.
You just want to you just like I'm done. Stop being done with them. It's your job to help transform them. Don't give up on the people, man.
I won't. I won't. I appreciate the realness.
No, it's just a different mindset, man. And again, you getting paid.
That's
So,
one reason why I can't complain because the
right?
money is great. But it's
You
just like
getting paid,
ah,
and there's a lot of people out here trying to find a job, right? So
right.
you're getting
That's
paid,
right.
so you gotta at least respect that. But there's ways that you could spin it, man. And I would just
Hmm.
spin it, and just recognize that we're just really doing Kanban, um, and just again, review is gonna suck. So I would phase that out as soon as I could. But I'd keep a monthly retro. I'd keep a monthly theme, because that can
Okay.
actually focus you down on return on investment. And then I just rock and go from there. Could you really force Scrum into that? You can. You really can. But again, if you do it monthly, people won't even know, because all they're
Okay.
really worried about is the daily Scrum along the way, and then they'll get tired of that the moment the moment they realize that we ain't really talking. We like talking at
Right.
each other. We're not really exchanging. Then they start realizing it's a problem, and then you just start pulling that stuff. You just start pulling that stuff out in the
Hmm.
retro, and then I'm saying, and then get them to recognize this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense, and then it's not you saying it at that point.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's kind of
Gotcha.
like, you know, I remember fighting with people to try to get the 2 week sprints. I had to let them
Hmm.
realize it. It wasn't about me. It was about them and their fear, right? And so
Right.
they just really want to do it. They really want to check the box off. Help them check the box off in a scrummish kind of way.
Okay, that makes sense. No, that makes perfect, because I've been fighting against it and probably causing a little bit more problems than
Why?
value,
You
because I'm
got
kind
people
of
saying,
I'm
we really want
right,
to be agile. We really want to do it. And you go,
right,
no, we can't do Scrum. We got to do Kanban. Man, forget the titles and words, man. Throw the
right.
words away,
Okay,
man. Why does the words even matter? The thing that you really want to do is make them as efficient, as effective as possible. That's
right.
really it. Regardless if it was doesn't matter, what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're trying to get them to whatever process is going to work for them. And at this point, when I was talking about late adopters, they're late adopters, man. Most of these people are going to do some hybridization of this stuff anyway. So recognize that, figure out what the best thing that worked for them is, and then
Right.
show them ways to improve. And in many cases, that's all you can do.
Do you think you should start it with a hybrid? So I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said I don't want to start in a hybrid model because I believe, like with um, I hate to say the traditional Scrum, we can kind of we know what outcomes we could potentially get, but in a hybrid model, we don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like we don't know what outcomes we're going to get. At
And
least
that
we have some standards there, right?
So
Um,
did people deliver with waterfall?
no,
I know a lot of organizations that deliver with waterfall.
deliver with waterfall.
Delivered with waterfall, yeah.
I mean, they deliver. I don't. I barely see projects that you know, in on time and on budget. And maybe that's just the organizations that I'm working with, but
Well, no, no,
I
but
rarely
but
see
think
that.
about it. Most dates are pulled out the air. Most budgets are
Mm-hmm.
pulled out the air, right? So even if the Scrum project had to deliver all the requirements, it probably wouldn't make the date.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
if comparing apples to apples, the truth is that humans are just bad at estimating. So
Yeah.
your question has a really simple answer, man.
Mm-hmm.
How many companies have you been at that have done ideal Scrum?
None. Everybody is hybrid.
So my,
Well, they call themselves hybrid. Sometimes I
so,
feel like they do that as an excuse, though,
but yeah, they
so
do it
they
as an
can.
excuse. But the
Yeah.
question is, you can fight the culture,
Yeah.
right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
can run hybrid with a culture that halfway accepts it.
Mm-hmm. And have a job.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
You understand? And the thing about it is that if you go too much against that grain, that's how you
Mm-hmm.
get walked out the door. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been walked out the door. So if you don't want to get walked out the door, then the truth
Mm-hmm.
is you're starting with a hybrid anyway. So I can't name to you like literally. I'd have a team, and we get pure Scrum maybe a month.
Wow.
Pure Scrum maybe a month, unless they do this. We're gonna do a special experiment and remove you out of the entire ecosystem, and you can do all the Scrum you want in this particular box. Just make sure you don't touch prod. Make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. But this particular box, we're gonna run this experiment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not real.
Right. Nobody's. It's not even. You're
That's
right.
not
It's
real. It's gonna be
unrealistic.
hard to be respected. It's gonna be hard to do a lot of
Right.
different things. So, man, I'd say to you, you know, reason why we have retrospectives is to have opportunity to improve, right?
Right.
So I like to start, you know, I have a psychology degree, as you know, um, and you know how a psychologist or a counselor kind of starts where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why don't we just start where organizations are at?
Okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Now,
That's
this is me being realistic instead of being ideal. I can be ideal in class all I want to, right?
mm-hmm.
But
Right.
have I really had a true experience scrum inside of a production environment to perfection? Little bit, man. Little bit.
Mm.
Little bit. Now, if you've had that, then that's cool. That's a good thing. But you ain't had it, right? And you can go take a vote of as many people as you want to, and 90% of the people won't. But then again, What organization runs perfect waterfall?
That's a very true. Project management is means something different in every organization.
Every
So
organization.
you're right.
And project
So
management ain't waterfall either. So it's like literally when you start thinking about it, the culture drives whatever it's going to be.
what do you mean by
So
project management is not waterfall?
it's not what, but okay. Let me ask you a question. If waterfall and project management are equal, then why
Okay.
do they have different names?
I've always wondered that. I always wondered why they don't just call it traditional project management because people use those when people refer to waterfall, they refer to traditional project management.
So here's your question, right?
Uh huh.
Waterfall is supposed to be what specifically? You're finishing all of one piece of a life cycle
Right. Before you
before
deliver.
you move on to the next.
Right.
Does that life cycle have anything to do truly with the project management aspect of it? No.
No, no, that's this standalone life cycle like
Right.
SDLC. I mean, that is what it is.
So if I wanted right now, if I wanted to make a bunch of sandwiches for the day,
Mm-hmm.
I could go and make sure all the bread is toasted,
Okay.
all of it. Then
We
move
code.
on to making sure all the meat is done, right? Does that make you understand what I'm saying? That'd be a waterfallish way about going about doing that, but that doesn't
Right.
make any sense, right? That doesn't work very well. It also
Right.
don't work very well for me to do one thing at a time, like one sandwich at a time. Might take me
Right.
forever too. So there's some combination of that. So realistically, waterfall normally refers to the life cycle, and unfortunately, we tend to associate waterfall with PMP, project management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, traditional project management, whatever you want to call it. But have you ever been a part of a waterfall project that didn't start another part of the life cycle before one ended?
No.
So, like, you got requirements.
Right.
Your developers are developing and designing while you're still doing the requirements, aren't they?
Right. And that's true.
So
While you're
guess what you're
gathering, that's
doing?
right.
You're doing a hybrid. You're doing a hybrid. So
Mm-hmm.
you're doing some sense of iterative work,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're doing some sense of that. Well, I would say incremental. You're not
Increment.
building incrementally. You are doing things sooner and piling up interim steps sooner is what you're doing. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is with that, you're working on a little bit, you're working on all of everything versus a little bit of everything at once. So you're working on all of one piece versus a little bit of everything. And that's the
Right.
biggest difference. It's like sequential development versus overlapping development. And realistically, waterfall is more referring to the sequential putting together of things.
Mm-hmm.
While most things in the agile landscape is going to be focused on overlapping of activities, right?
Right.
So I don't have to have all the development done. I can do a little bit of the requirements and a little bit of the design and a little bit of development versus completing all in one piece. And so
Mm-hmm.
really the difference is those two factors. And a lot of times we want to point out overlapping, or we want to say waterfall is just purely sequential. I've never been in an environment where it's purely sequential. Never. Never. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the only place I could say I've ever seen that happen is in manufacturing, is in building buildings, right? There's certain things you have to finish before you move to another piece, right? But it's
Right.
been manufacturing where I see that, and then I tend to lean towards Six Sigma for those kind of
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Things that are more predictable. So the statement is, people think about waterfall in how would I say, the wrong way, because there's nothing wrong with the car that you're driving, right?
Right.
And if you think about your car is a true masterpiece. And realistically, I guarantee you, if you would trust the builders of your car, then you would trust most developers that are working on Scrum projects. Just think about it. Like literally. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're following a predictable process again and again and again to get thousands upon thousands of
Right.
cars out of the actual assembly plant.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you want to see this really in motion, my advice to you would be a lot of these. I know Toyota does in San Antonio because I had the opportunity to visit Toyota. Go visit an assembly plant
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and look at the operation, right? You'll see lean, you're gonna see a lot of Six Sigma stuff, but you're gonna see something that is super effective. But they got tolerances that are really amazing. They do great work, and it's more waterfall than anything else.
Right.
So we want things to be more predictable. We just operate with things that aren't so predictable. So it's not to be against waterfall. It works for
Right.
many, many things, right? But
Absolutely.
project management, I think, only really got its true title of being traditional once the iterative stuff started coming up. Okay?
Mm. Okay.
Because realistically, project managers are just managing a project. That's it. And trying to
Right.
get something to a completion, get this temporary entity done. But if they had the ability to do that in a more iterative way, then they would have. And if waterfall didn't really come around until 1980, or let's just say 1970, something, computers was around before 1970, right?
Mm-hmm.
Software was around before 1970, right?
Right.
So then they obviously wasn't doing waterfall. They was doing iterative development back in the day.
I've heard that before. That agile is they slapped a nice pretty name on it, but it's something that had been done or been used years before they just called it agility.
Yeah,
Or
when you
even Scrum, and
yeah,
I've heard
all
that
of them,
before. Maybe
all
it
of them.
was in your class. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been. And the thing that
Yeah.
you have to understand is that Scrum is nothing but plan, do, check, act,
Right. Yeah.
which came from 1930s or 50s, whatever it is, right? And if you just think about it, I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was working in the military, and had a class, and the person that was the head of the organization, told a story
Mm-hmm.
about how she was a assembly programmer. She was a programmer, and back there they had these cards that they would use. Now this is before my time, right? Had these
Mm-hmm.
cards that they would use in order to program with, and what they would do is they would go and do something, and then they would take it to the customer and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Customer, does it look like what you wanted?" And get feedback, and then go back and do whatever they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me that's not what we're trying to do.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. Deliver
So
value based on customers' expectations or
right,
customers what they want. Yeah.
right. And so realistically, I can't say to you that, you know, we knew about this before. It's just somehow
Mm-hmm.
we may have forgotten about it. But I didn't exist during that time. All I can do is listen to old heads tell me, well, back in the day, we had a customer in a room and this is what's happened. And I had that happen to me on many occasions is the problem, right? So I'm going to assume it's true. Not to mention, when I worked at Allstate, you know, I was at Allstate in 2000, like
Oh, okay.
literally
That was right.
2000 I was at Allstate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but back in the day, they had people there who'd had 30-year plaques. Like, they had a plaque
Wow.
that said they've been at Allstate 30 years. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? They've been at Allstate 30 years, right? 25,
Mm-hmm.
30-year plaques, literally. Got them lined up around the room, right? These people there for long periods of time. Those are the things that they would tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Those exact things. And so, I got exposed to Agile at Experian. People told me about it. And I went to Allstate. I'm like, hey, this Agile stuff is cool. They're like, whatever. Whatever.
That's funny. I got exposed
Whatever.
to Agile at Equifax when I worked at Equifax. That was the first time that I saw. Well, it was really they were doing scaled Agile, but it was at
It was hopeless
Equifax.
for me because we was doing direct mail and there's no way it was gonna work on that. But
Mm.
the idea is that when I brought it to the old heads, they said, And so I let it go. I let it go. And
Mm,
then my first true exposure came at State Farm in 2005.
mm,
But I heard about these inklings of things, and we're doing COBOL, and we're in the back doing JCL. We're doing all this deep down, and man, them old guys is just like, this is nothing. That's exactly what they said to me, right? So so that experience plus others is just like, okay, this is interesting. So we've always done iterative development, okay?
okay.
It's just that for some strange reason, man, over the years, and I can't tell you why, but I can say this for sure. For some strange reason, and there's a history to it, there's just been this thing of PMPs against Agile, Scrum
Yeah.
against PMPs, and
Mm,
it's never made sense to me, right? I mean, I got my PMP in like September of
mm,
'05, and I got my CSM in October of '05, right? So I got them right there together, right? And and when I think about it, I think about the classic PMP process, which has nothing to do with waterfall. Is, as you know, it is initiation, plan, executing, controlling, monitoring, all happen in the cycle and closing. And
right.
what about that doesn't fit in the Scrum? We plan
Never thought about it from that
at the
perspective.
beginning, we
Hmm.
execute, monitor, and control while having
Hmm.
daily scrums, and we close out with a sprint review and a sprint retrospective. What's the difference? What's the difference? I don't see any difference. Okay?
Hmm.
I absolutely don't see any difference. And so, it's a difference in dogma, it's a difference in attitude, it's a difference in whatever it is. But the idea is that there's no reason for us to be at war with each other, and people would be like taking like true stands. I mean, back in the day, I got to the place where, you know, sometimes I'd be inside of an organization too long, and I'd be like, I don't like this Scrum thing no more. Oh, I don't like these project managers no more. And it just, I just let it all go, man, because it just made no sense. People to people, and they're going to align with whatever they think they got, and it's going to be what
Right.
it is, right? And so the same thing happens with these project managers at extreme or these agilists at extreme. But the truth is, you take those extremes out, most of us are sitting in the middle,
Very true. That's right.
right? But it all lines up, man. It all lines up, you know. And so I don't, play around with those battles. And PMI sent me to Brazil at one point, man. So I can't really be too upset at them.
I wouldn't be
So
upset if they sent me to Brazil.
so I'm kind of solid, and I haven't let my PMP go, right? I mean, I
Right.
very well don't need to have it. I could let it go, right? But the main reason why I got it is because so I can have conversations with people who think their stuff smells better than mine, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
it is what it is, man. So was that your second question, man?
That was my second question. I appreciate it, man. You got. I feel like I've been. Yeah. I feel much better about it, man. And I'm gonna stop. Like just focusing on the words. And just help them focus on value and efficiency. So this
Yeah.
definitely helped me out. I appreciate it.
Forget the words, man. Let the words go, and here's a statement to make to you, right?
Hmm.
When I first became a Scrum Master, people would laugh at the name Scrum because they didn't know what the heck it was, right? So you can imagine in '05, I'm throwing to title, I'm a Scrum Master on my, signature and doing stuff like that, right? And they, most people say, oh, this scum thing, yeah, oh, this thing, right? And so most people didn't want to be associated with that name, right? And at least when I came around,
Right.
people didn't want to be associated with that name. And so it's one of those things where if you really think about it, many organizations that I would go to would change the names of words just to not to say Scrum. So
Hmm.
instead of calling it Scrum, we'd call it Lean Agile. Instead of having a Scrum coach, we'd have an Agile coach.
Right.
You start seeing all these different things where people would pull these words out. But the question always to me was, why does the words even matter?
Yeah.
If we arguing over semantics when what we should be doing is fighting over efficiency and effectiveness.
Right.
What we should be doing is taking this process and figure out how it best works inside of whatever organization to get this culture moving in the right direction. And if you're doing that, then you win the battle. At the end of the
Solving
day,
problems.
what you want to be is you want to be that one person that comes out of an organization and say, I'm the one that made that company perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because the day you can do that, you can write your ticket to any place else on the planet, right?
Right.
And is perfection based on what Ken and Jeff said? Or is perfection based on what the culture drives and achieves?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I
I
wouldn't
think
put
it's
them
about
in.
culture.
And if it's about the culture, then why are you going against the culture in ways that don't help them be more effective and efficient?
It's a sense of control.
So that means you have the issue, not them.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so
Definitely.
you have to let that go. And the moment that you let that go and you get yourself back into being sensei, right?
Mm-hmm.
You allow them to go through whatever stages of learning the beginning, then learning how to master it, and then turn it into whatever else they want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they got to turn it into their style.
Right.
But you know that that's Shu Hari, right?
That's right.
And so
She right.
let them go through the steps that they need to, because at some point, once they get to what they need to get to, they'll turn it into whatever they need to turn it into. And it
Right.
may look completely different than what you thought about, but it's
Mm-hmm.
theirs, right? It's theirs. It's their culture's thing. And it may not be so perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the best that they can do. And it's like you have kids, right? I have kids.
Too
We
many
want
kids.
we want the best. We want the best that we can have for our kids.
Right.
And I think your kids are younger than mine. My kids are now starting to be in their 20s. And what I've
Oh
learned,
yeah, it is. Oldest
yeah,
one is 8.
yeah. So what I've learned is for all these dreams I've had,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna live my dream. They're gonna live their dream.
Right. That's true.
And I clearly have said to myself that, and I've said to all of them, that I'm gonna love you as long as one, you're a productive citizen, and you don't go out and here hurting people. That's it. That's all I ask you to do. If you can do that, I'm gonna always love and care about you. That does mean that you make a choice. You gotta live with that choice. That does
Mm-hmm.
mean if I thought you was gonna be a doctor and you ended up being a janitor, as long as you're happy and you're a productive citizen and you're not hurting nobody, it's not my life.
Right.
So I let them live their lives. But I
Mm-hmm.
also, inside of organizations, let the culture turn into what the culture chooses to turn into. And this is the reason why I can walk away with my head high. Because when I go in and I do the best that I can do with that culture, I can always say to them, I've done everything that I can do for you for now. When you feel like you need more help, just reach back out to me. But I'm going to walk away from you at this point in time because you need to learn some things on your own.
Mm-hmm.
No different than as my kids matured. Okay, you need to learn this on your own. Come back when you need some more help.
Right.
Don't fall on your face. I'm going to be a little safety net for you. I'm not going to let you fall too far.
Mm-hmm.
But I do got to let you experience life. And these organizations, cultures are nothing but people and what people create. And it's an entity unto itself. So I look at it as one of my
Right.
children and I do everything in my power to make that child as self-sufficient as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're productive and they're not hurting anybody, I'm good wherever the culture goes.
Dang, that makes sense. Oh, this is good. This was amazing. Whew. I need this every day, man. I listen to Les Brown. I'm listening to you.
Well, I wish I could do this every day. It's always fun for me. So I just be coming on here and like, let's talk, people. And then we go from there. So, yeah. So, on that note, you get that PMP yet, man?
Not yet, man. I need to get
You
it.
know what, man? You about to disappoint me, man. You know, there's certain people. Let me tell you something. I want to tell you this right now so you understand. Okay, so you know you got a special relationship with me, right?
Yeah. Bearded family alumni.
Yeah, but it goes beyond that, right? So you need to do what you said you was gonna do.
I know.
Period. You can't use the kids as an excuse. I got 6. You can't use the kids as an excuse. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, and we had a pandemic, which means everything slowed down.
Right.
Everything slowed down, right?
Right.
And you wasn't starving. You had a job. You was kind of good. So my statement to you is, what you waiting for, man?
It's crazy that you said that because I've definitely over the last couple of weeks, I called it a midlife crisis, but I'm not midlife. But it's just me reflecting over what I'll be 36 this year, and I always told myself I'm gonna do X, Y, Z by the time I'm 40. So I'm having this like, okay, Ira, let's go.
You know what, man? You know, I'm a tell me you have a social media name that you call yourself that's related to Agile. What's that name again?
Mr. Agile Swag.
Mr. What?
Agile Swag.
This is not very swaggish, man.
It's not.
This is not very swaggish. This is not very swaggish. You are messing up the whole swag hustle thing, man. Come on, man.
I know. I need to get my life together.
Yeah, you do. And you know, be happy that I don't have a relationship with your wife, because otherwise I would tell her to get on you.
She would too.
My man, you know you need anything, just reach out to me, man.
Definitely. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you're doing, us individually, and then just for, project management, agility, whatever. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, no problem. I appreciate you coming on. And you need something, reach out to me, for real.
I will.
All right.
Definitely.
I'll talk to you.
We'll
take care of yourself and take care of your family.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Wonderful and great. Wonderful and great. I enjoy that. Hopefully you did too. I'm going to chop this up so everybody can see it. So then we're good to go. But on that note, I think we've done more than what we normally do on the show. We've done more, definitely more. So I'm going to say to you all, it has been a pleasure. I got a few things coming up. Classes coming. But here's the deal. I think I'm going to go ahead and do another hardship class as well. And people usually know about that. So on that note, I'm going to say, hey, y'all. Peace. I'm way past my time. I appreciate those who have stayed. And we'll talk again soon. Have a good one, y'all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.